Turn up the volume because this matters to you. In today's Money Power Politics, we're talking about the trade war and its escalation. The Trump administration has released a list of Chinese goods worth $200 billion that will face 10% tariffs. If they go into effect, you could see a major spike in prices for a lot of the basics in your home. Your grocery bill could go up. Pork products, fish, grains, and fresh and frozen produce. Building materials could increase your cost on a renovation or a new home, with increases on marble and granite, plaster, cement, and metals such as copper, iron, and nickel. And how about your heating bill? It could see a spike as we penalize imports on propane, kerosene, natural gas, and coal. And then, of course, there's a litany of other basics like tobacco, cigarettes, clothing, handbags, even pet food.
Not handbags.
Not handbags. Uh-oh, you know who makes some of those? Ivanka Trump. Joining me again.
And not here, by the way.
My dear friend, Ron Insana. Okay, Ron.
Yeah.
This is a huge list of Chinese goods. We know that Americans love cheap stuff. That's why Walmart and Amazon became two of the most successful companies on the planet.
Although Walmart never gets criticized for this anymore. But
it doesn't. But walk me through sort of this trade war and who exactly it works for. Could this be just a game of chicken?
We talked a little bit about this earlier in the program. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a coherent strategy to me. The issues that we have with China really have nothing to do so much with merchandise trade as they do with intellectual property theft and forced technology transfer of companies that do business in China.
And if we wanted to go after something like that, maybe we would participate in something like TPP, work together with our allies, and put pressure on China.
And
we're not
go to the
doing
World
that.
Trade Organization with all of Europe, with Canada, with other countries. And once the WTO would decide in our favor, which, by the way, it has done 90% of the time, we would be allowed to put tariffs on Chinese products within the auspices of the World Trade Organization in their dispute settlement mechanism. This would be, it takes more time than the Trump administration would like, but they're firing bullets in the wrong direction. And you mentioned Ivanka Trump making handbags there. Her items, by the way, are exempted from any tariffs that might be imposed coming back into the United States.
Why?
You'd have to ask the president that question.
Ivanka Trump, I'd love the answer to that question. You've got my cell phone. Please call it. Walk me through, don't we need China as an ally as we're looking to get North Korea to denuclearize?
One would think that you would not impose tariffs this steep. And again, the $200 billion worth of goods not yet imposed. There's going to be a 90-day public comment period. But yes, as we're trying to bring China to the table to further pressure North Korea to denuclearize, you would assume you'd want them on your side. And the president made a comment about this, I believe it was last week, where he said he hoped that China was not influencing the North Koreans to take a more belligerent tone towards the United States, which it has in the last week. So China could sink this whole thing tomorrow with respect to North Korea in retaliation for these tariffs. And remember, China can only put tariffs on so much in the way of U.S. goods before it runs out of things to put tariffs on.
Okay, well, you've said you think we could remove tariffs from Russia. We could remove sanctions from Russia and double down on tariffs with China.
No. I never said that we should or could. I think that, the president made some allusion to a positive surprise for Vladimir Putin this week.
And why would that make sense? Help me understand.
It wouldn't. I mean, listen, from a geopolitical perspective, it doesn't make sense. And as I've said this to you many times, I don't see foreign policy or trade policy or economic policy in this administration as coherent. It seems like a seat of the pants style of management, which President Trump used in his private life.
Then who supports it? Orrin Hatch doesn't. Jeff Flake doesn't.
No, nobody. And listen, nobody in Congress really supports.
The answer is not nobody, because President Trump's approval rating is doing A-OK.
Yes, with his base and with some more moderates and independents, rather surprisingly. But those very people who think they support this program will ultimately be hurt by the imposition of tariffs. They're going to find out in the Rust Belt that, well, yes, U.S. Steel may reopen one plant and that may add 600 jobs. By and large, the people who benefit from relatively inexpensive products overseas and who would otherwise be hurt by these tariffs are in for a rude awakening. Agricultural producers, soybean producers, they're all taking big hits. Producers of nails. One company's literally got to close down because it can't afford the steel prices in order to make nails, something that simple. So, listen, I don't know that this helps anybody in the United States. I don't know that it helps global trade. And what I really fear is that, like the 30s, again, we've spoken about this before, Smoot-Hawley tariffs exacerbated the Great Depression. This could, if it gets out of control, create a worldwide recession, and that helps no one.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.